So as you can see, we have not 3, not 4, but 5 amazing security and legal experts on stage now. Thank you. And I will be your guide today to take the most knowledge of them. So just a quick word about myself. So I was a blockchain consultant before moving to Parity as a core developer. Now I'm working as a core developer for developing the smart contract language of Polkadot called Inc. So of course we build in the safer way, and we are always auditing. That's why it makes sense for us to talk about security today, especially in the Web3 space. And yes, as you can understand, I'm more used to talk about with computers and with humans, but let's talk with these 5 amazing experts on stage. So I know, Gabi, you were a submarine former officer, so please introduce yourself and then move on, please.
Hello everyone, I'm Gabi, I'm the VP of Security in Halborn. So we are a company focused on Web3 hacking, but not only Web3, but also all the Web2 around, because we realize Web2 is still affecting Web3 space. And as you know, as she said, I'm a former Navy officer in Spain, submarines. So I just try to, to provide my experience in my life to the Web3 space. I think is one of the best things of the crypto space. Many people from many different space, many different places.
Okay, thank you. Carlos, can you give you a word about yourself, please?
Yeah, sure. Good morning, everyone. I'm Carlos. I'm from Barcelona, so welcome to our city. I work for Maltego Technologies as an SME. Maltego is a company providing a link analysis tool that is enabling investigators around the world during the last 14 years to try to find the bad guys out there who are really impacting different industries. Also now the Web3 with all these scams are also doing money laundering or other kind of fraud schemes. I've been 20 years in information security, working mainly in digital forensics and incident response. So hopefully I'm here with the rest of my colleagues here in the panel to provide you, or trying to provide you some insights about this.
Okay, thank you. Yasir, a word also, please.
Hi everyone, morning, my name is Yasir. I'm one of the co-founders of KwikTrust. What we're doing is identifying, adding identity to signatures, digital signatures, and whitelisting wallets and the transactions that happen. We've also applied for a patent for adding your identity to NFTs, which basically means that higher value assets can be allocated to users, and as they move around, people will know who owns the assets, and bringing more transparency, because we know that Web3 decentralization is great till you lose your NFT, and then everyone wants a number to dial and call someone and asking for help. So one of the things that we're doing is bringing more transparency to the ecosystem.
Okay, a quick word, Thanos, also, please.
Hello everyone, my name is Thanos. I am the co-founder and CEO of Cyberscope. Cyberscope is a cybersecurity company. We're operating in blockchain, and we have solutions in smart contract audits, KYC, and AML analytics. We got shortlisted for Best Startup of the Year in the past Cybersecurity Awards.
And yes, Michael, we didn't have the chance to grab a drink yesterday, but
No.
you can present yourself.
Absolutely, thank you so much. Michael Fasanello, Crypto Compliance Officer for AnChain.AI. I spent 10 years with the US Departments of Justice and of the Treasury. With Justice, I was in asset forfeiture and money laundering section of the criminal division down in Washington, DC. Then I spent about another half a decade with OFAC, Office of Foreign Assets Control, doing sanctions matters, and then also with Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, FinCEN, doing Bank Secrecy Act for the Treasury Department. Now I'm with AnChain.AI, and we provide security and risk management for the Web3 space, everything from blockchain analytics to NFT development and security, smart contract auditing, and of course training and education for private and public sector. So happy to be here.
Okay, thank you all. So we have seen of course, there was a FTX collapse, and as it was already talked just before us. So can you just explain very quickly what solution your company brings to make this space more resilient? So let's start with Carlos.
Cool, thank you. I think most of us who work directly or indirectly in the crypto industry, we need to make sure our business are clean because we have many people who work with us, could be business partners, could be customers, and Maltego is providing a solution to doing trust and safety in the way to verify your customers, what the business they are doing, to make sure you are as most compliant as possible, of course. And this means doing proactive investigations, and also when something happens, like we have some cases in the past, we are able to make sure to uncover the dots, to connect them to, and to know from them as much as possible. So Maltego is providing, connecting to OSINT data sources and also to intelligence providers to see as much as possible so that your analysts can provide this to to take decisions on how to proceed. So that would be it.
So speaking about analysts, Michael, can you give you a word also?
Yeah, so AnChain provides traceability, transparency, security, and just more credibility to the Web3, as well as education, of course. So, well needed after 2022.
Okay, do you want also add a word, Yasir?
Yeah, I mean, FTX collapse was not the biggest one. So I know we're talking about it just now, but before then the Luna crashed, and then the 3 arrows and everything else. It's just like, it's an example that we like to quote. But the idea still remains that we need to be more transparent within the industry. Wallets are fine, wallets are good, but they need to be attached to some sort of identity. And it needs to be decentralized identity, and we heard some of the speakers speak about the FTX collapse and how best to resolve that issue. So yeah, that's all I have to add on that.
Gabi, I would like to hear you also about this.
Yeah, so for example, if you take a look at the reg list, you can see like 6 of top 12 hacks are not related to crypto. I mean, it's like attacking the website, how to handle the keys, generating the keys. So it's the approach of our company is like protecting Web3 part, which is smart contracts, but also the other parts. For example, Badger DAO, it's $120 million, and they just attack the website. So it's like if you protect the website, if you protect the mobile apps, cloud, and so you could protect all the project, not only smart contract audits. So this is, I think when you realize Web3 is not Web3, it's Web 2.5 just now. So when you realize that, I know, you can defend your project, and you can make your project more resilient.
And maybe a last word from you, for Thanos, about resilience and your company, please.
Yeah, I agree with Yasir. The transparency is very important nowadays, and what we do is, apart from traditional B2B audit services and KYC services, we also have tools open for customers. So it's platform with tools that you can interact with a smart contract, check the findings yourself. It's a preliminary audit report. You can also scan wallets, so you get to see how much AML suspicious a wallet can be. Resilient systems are very important because it's exactly like why you would want your banks to have the best level of security measures when they're holding their money. This is why we're working hard to make sure Web3 is also resilient.
Okay, thank you. So I think from a technical perspective, it's obvious that having a very secure and safe system is always the best, but we are more today with business partners, we have founders, we have CEO, and of course CTO. But can you explain us how by building a technical, safer project can help to have also economic outcomes?
Yeah, absolutely. So securing technical systems means there will be less contract exploits. Just the past year, there were over 2 billion funds reported stolen, exploited from smart contracts. So the best thing we can do is, first of all, secure the smart contracts, and then the second defense is education. So only by combining those two, then we can talk about mainstream adoption and resilient systems.
So do you want to add a word? Yes.
Yeah, I mean, for us, it's more, we're all builders over here. We want to build organizations and companies. We're all here trying to understand how we can leverage blockchain, whether it's enterprise solution or whether it's more, open system, open ecosystem. For us, it's more reputational cost. And, we need to do the right things. And we have a great panel over here, and all, these guys work in security and making transactions more secure. And we heard from previous panel that self-regulation. Every industry have a regulator self-regulation mechanism. And I think that is coming. And that is coming quite quickly now because of what's happened in the last 6-8 months in the crypto space. So I think, and whilst we are here discussing the technology, how we can leverage it, it's down to us to build the reputation, do the right things, and have a more longer-term vision rather than, what's going to happen in 6 months' time. Oh, the token is going to be 6 months, so let's put something out there. And then, we'll see what happens. And then if things go pear-shaped, have an oh shit moment and move on. So I think majority of the people I've met last night in here and in London in crypto space, they're more mature. They're thinking more, 3-year plan, 5-year plan, rather than, a quick, short, flavor of the month. And I'm speaking to a lot of security companies now, providing cloud security, wallet security, identity, transactions, and traceability on that. So I think it's coming, and I think that's what we need to understand and think about. It's good to be builders, but we also need to take a long-term vision and learn from the mistakes and learn from what's gone wrong and how we can leverage that and improve on it moving forward. And that's the only way to bring trust in the ecosystem. And I think these guys over here are doing some great work in their respective fields.
Last word, Carlos?
Yeah, definitely. I think nowadays all the organizations need to do proper processes around know your customer and know your transactions to make sure everything is going in the right way. Because I have seen many cases in the past, not only in crypto, when I was doing other investigations in let's say traditional banking, that even you have the compliance teams and you have the regulation to push them to do it in the proper way. It's a good mix of technologies, process, and the people behind that taking care of this. So I think definitely agree with my colleagues that we're still far in many cases to be in many organizations that are not addressing the risk properly, and they think they're just complying with some standards out there. Everything's going well, and I think we need to really be more pragmatic, be close to not too much paper, and be close to where's the data, understanding how it's being accessed, and these kind of things.
So speaking about being pragmatic, at Parity we have this common phrase. It is, we want less trust but more truth and more proof. So still in this business way, can you tell me how you can build with your partnership this truth and this trust? So please, Gabi.
Yeah, so basically it's like we try to, we can say that, educate our clients, because in that point, security, I mean, for crypto natives, is super hard to understand security. It's something essential, because at the end, it's like when you are at home, it's like, I know one, who wants to attack me? It's like, who wants to steal my money? But it's like, two different kinds of company. It's like the company, which was hacked, and the company which is going to be hacked. So at the end, it's like, you have to build your company based on security, and at the end, you, as a company, you don't have to think like, it's like security is useless or something like that. Security is useless until you are hacked. So even in this market, I think the amounts maybe is a bit, is not very focused, because we say, okay, Matter.io, just 4 million, is nothing. Yeah, but because the most, the worst hack, it was like 600 million or something, but 4 million for this company is, it's a concern. So other than that, it's like you want to be decentralized, but 90% of the companies are in AWS. So it's like, if you want to be 100% decentralized, if you have any single point of failure, being said, you are not decentralized. Being said, you need security, because we have some examples, but I don't want to talk a bit more than my time. But for example, we hack a client, under control by the cloud, and using the GitHub repository, and because everything is important, security, these access control policies, and so on. So at the end, you are able, if you are an attacker, from the GitHub repository, we modify the repository, and then we were able to steal the funds. So, security is paramount. Yeah.
Michael, can I have some words also about trust and truth?
Yeah,
and
so
how to build this trust with your partnership in business?
Yeah, so this space was developed to be trustless, but I think what we're seeing largely now is that in order for greater adoption, there has to be some level of trust from the customer, especially people that aren't native to our world, to this blockchain world we live in. It's very different to the average person walking on the street. So being able to, I think, I think regulation and compliance, sometimes they're a dirty word in Web3, especially among the DeFi folk, and I understand, because I'm a little bit libertarian myself. Less government surveillance, the better. But I think that if you are transparent with the customer, and of course your counterparties, in why you have certain compliance programs in place, why you're doing certain things that seem like they stifle innovation or seem like they're unduly burdensome on the industry, it's helpful to have people understand that if we don't take certain measures, if we don't do certain things, like traditional finance in a way, that the adoption, it'll just be stamped out before it even gets started. So I think that there is a time and a place to have that fight, and I think it's once greater adoption actually takes place. So my guidance to the industry is do what we have to do now to get in there and have this alternative system of finance adopted well beyond what it is now. And then once we've grown large enough, then we can take that fight where we need to take it, if we need to take it at all.
Okay, thank you. Also, speaking about trust is most of the time, I think in Web3, believing in your own trust, and so it means also managing most of the time your own key and your own wallets. But when you are just new in the ecosystem, it can be quite complicated. So it is something that really matters for me. How do you think we can find this threshold between having a good user experience especially for new users, and so security? So Yasir?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to give you a little bit, a bit of a story really quickly. So I was traveling, and I had a Monzo. I use Monzo. I'm from the UK, so if you guys don't know what Monzo is, it's a neobank. And I handed my card. I actually offered my card up to the shopkeeper, and he basically tapped it, and he took more money out of it than he should have. And I came to London, and then I went to Monzo and said, they robbed me basically. And they said, well, sorry, you gave the card, they tapped, you're within the limit, we can't do anything about it. And I got mad at the bank, right? The point I'm trying to make is that, can I be trusted with my own keys? I mean, the keys are on my mobile phone is not secure. If it's on my browser, the browser is not secure. These guys, if they know my details, they probably can hack into my system and get, who am I actually mad at, So we need, I think we said it's not Web3. It's Web3 when we want it to be Web3, and we want to say keep the government out of the equation and everything else. But as soon as something goes wrong, we need someone to be mad at, right? So at the moment, we're at Web 2.5 at best, right? And what we're currently doing is building a bridge from Web 2 to Web 3, So, and I think that's what it is. So, you know, all these great things about, you know, holding your keys and keeping them secure and everything else is all fair and well. But if today, if money goes missing from your bank or someone uses your credit card, you know, scammed your credit card, you want to speak to someone because you want that insurance, right? And currently we're not there yet. So, you know, what are we trying to achieve over here? You know, what is the functionality? Can my mum, I always use this as an example, can my mum use, you know, crypto to transact? No, she can't, because I've been trying to explain to her what I do, and she still thinks that, you know, I do something as a part-time thing, and it may not, it's a hobby. So, and I've been running this bloody thing for 3 years. So, you know, are we there yet? No, we aren't. We need to build tools. Education is good, and I speak to a lot of people about blockchain and security and everything else till cows come home. But, you know, it's a very small number, right? The thing is that we need to make it more secure. We need to have the same processes in place that we currently have with our banks to make it more successful, to make it more secure, and that will come. But, you know, for us to sit here and say, you know, keep hold of your own keys on your phone, or, you know, that's just. I don't think we're there yet. I don't think as you know, being in blockchain space in 2016, 2017, I feel scared. You know, I've got 2 or 3 ledgers, and I keep. Some are like under my mattress, and some in my bloody shoe, and some somewhere else, and I don't know where the keys are. And if something was to go wrong, you know, I don't know what I would do about it. But, you know, but would I do that same thing with my money in my bank? Would I take, you know, all the money out of my account and put it around my flat? No, I wouldn't. You know, so there is a massive change that needs to happen. There's a gulf between what crypto is right now and how we are used to working with a bank and managing our money. So, you know, maybe a bit cynical view, but, you know, but that just shows that we are thinking about it as an organization.
Yes, Thanos, can have your also, because you have all your cyber experience, can have also your opinion about this.
Yeah, I totally agree with Yasir. It's very important to know and educate people around security, and it's very hard actually, because it's not easy converting a user and explaining that he has to read. The only way to educate is to read, to understand what blockchain is, how to manage your wallets, how to manage your keys. This is a very sensitive process, and there are solutions for that, and we're seeing about scams happening and people trying to exploit when this happens. I think it's very important to understand that on the space we have this responsibility of bringing this to the customers closer and providing solutions, being there for them, and making these products educating.
So Carlos, I see you want to say also, please.
Yeah, I was laughing, thinking about lots of stories. But I think, let's forget now about Web3, but I think we still have a problem with identity and authentication. I mean, talking about your partners, your family, relatives that come to you, I can trust this website when they have to buy something. Now, after COVID, most of the people, they now buy online, and they still, it's difficult to see if something, a website you can, or a service online, you can trust it, because even the bad guys, they do really good brand impersonation. They put like nice logos, nice things. So at the end, it's all about social engineering. When we talk about technology at the end, let's see in the future, maybe it will be the machines hacking us and on the other side. But nowadays, we are human people, the bad guys, the good guys, using the technology. And I think the main problem is social engineering. So people, they are approached with phishing attacks, and you click on something. Even now with, I mean, probably people talk about passwords. That is one of the big problems. But now with this second factor authentication, the bad guys are trying to approach, also trying to bypass that. So we had a case last year with the Uber breach, that the bad guys were mainly approaching an IT guy through WhatsApp, just sending, trying to force him to accept the two-factor authentication. So I think technology is not the only solution in Web 2, Web 3. It's education and trying, probably, I don't know how, but I think we, in all the industries, we need to provide something to really help on supporting the mutual identification of who's connecting and that you are connecting to a trustable partner. So that will be my point.
if I may add to Carlos, this is a problem that hasn't been solved for Web 2, so it's pretty, if you think about it, it's a work in progress for the internet in general. It's not a Web 3 thing. Phishing attacks are there, have always been there, and identification is...
Yeah, we always come back to Web 2. Yeah, I think we all agree on this, and most of attacks are still scam and phishing, so...
Yeah, so this is now the problem. We realize this is a popular opinion, but it's not technology. The problem is humans, because it's like at the end is the weakest part of the chain, and it's like humans. It's like we have to decentralize our minds. It's not. We are talking about decentralization and technology, Web3, but we have to decentralize our minds because we still say like, they are the banks. We trust banks, so we put the money there because, we trust them. But why, Because if you go to the origins, to the Satoshi paper and so, you say a system based on trust is trustless per se. I mean, you have to apply like cryptography, honesty of the nodes, security, and so. But at the end, it's curious because we launched some phishing campaigns to our clients in terms of, the CEOs and CTOs, they want to test their own people in terms of, people are working with many confidential things and so. And it's curious because you launch a phishing campaign, about LastPass or something, maybe 5% of people. And we say, we need to think about a bit more. So we launched a phishing campaign with a fake emails about their stock options. So at the end, it was like 90% success because at the end, even if you are concerned with security and so, we are talking about your money, your options, your so. So at the end, the humans are the weakest part of the chain, unfortunately.
Okay, I think we understand the problem is still related to Web 2, technically speaking, but let's move to a more touchy subject. Let's move, to regulation, because every time I think there is a new attack, a new scam, there are just all institutional actors saying, okay, we need to add regulation on this sector. So just a simple question. Do you think regulation will really help to have a more safer space? So please, Michael.
Yeah, so every time I think I have a handle on the regulatory approaches taken worldwide and domestically in the US, some new exploit comes out, some new problem occurs, and suddenly there's just knee-jerk reactions all over. Right after FTX in the United States, out of Congress, they introduced the Digital Assets Anti-Money Laundering Act, which was one of the most aggressive attacks on unhosted wallets and self-custody that I've ever seen. And that's extremely problematic. And I think that around the world they do a little better with not being so overly broad and overreaching with regulation, but there's still a fundamental misunderstanding of how this technology works, who are the parties that are involved, how they function with the system. And so if you don't understand those key metrics, those key things, how can you appropriately scope your regulation, right? And it's a very lazy approach that's being taken. It's problem, blanket solution, ban it. And that's not what's going to help this system. And as we've seen, especially as of late with the SEC and the Federal Reserve, the Fed locks out Custodia Bank. The SEC is attacking lending programs, staking programs, and looks like stable coins are next up. All of this is now saying that the government's finally got to the point where they realize blockchain has come too far to stop it, but they're going to shoulder themselves in and really, probably we're looking at the rise of multiple CBDCs around the world, and we don't want that, I think, as a system, because, of course, that's absolute surveillance and control of our financial system. As I walk around now with fiat in my wallet, those serial numbers are not recorded by the government with my name. So if I spend them, they're spent without, with anonymity. If they have the CBDC, that's it, guys. So there has to be that balance of, the industry working with Congress and working with parliaments around the world to educate them properly on the benefits of blockchain, as well as not to be overbroad and stifle innovation, because this is something very beautiful that could go a long way towards advancing the future of finance, an alternative system of finance, real-time payments, cross-border payments, just making everything better. And so, to keep such an antiquated system in place with central banks is, quite frankly, I think tragic.
I think, Yasir, you want also to give your opinion on the subject.
I have an opinion about everything. I have an opinion on everything. So yeah,
it's good for us.
Whilst I agree with Michael, I want to give an opposing view. So CBDC, I'm not a massive fan of it, but at the end of the day, your bank accounts are all connected. When I travel, the logs are all connected, so people know where I am, what I'm spending on. So CBDC is just another step on bigger control. Not a massive fan of it, but I can see some of the benefits of it. The other thing is that regulation, from a regulatory point of view, self-regulation again is key. Because the SEC don't understand what blockchain is or what the technology is, what the applications are. They just gung-ho at the moment, and they're just like, okay, staking bad, FTX bad, ban. So it's like an ape fucking going around. Sorry to swear, and just hammering everyone with it. That's not going to work. Luckily for UK, they came up with a regulation early this week, and it looks quite favourable, and it is very sensible, to be honest with you. So if the US is going around doing what they're doing, there are other jurisdictions, and rather than SEC going around banning everything, I think a better approach would be to set up some sort of council to say, right, you are the industry leaders, how can we make it more secure for people, and take some feedback. But at the moment, they're not just there yet, and I don't know. I don't think they know what they're doing.
It's actually striking that you mentioned more than the SEC having like a conglomerate, if you would, or a working task force, because at the very beginning of the regulatory discussions back in 2021. I had said, I think that much like after 9/11, when the intelligence community in the United States was found to be faulty and siloed, and nobody was sharing information with one another, the FBI, the NSA, the CIA, they were all working in opposite directions. And so eventually we now have the Office of the Director of National Intelligence that centralizes all of that. So I think that the SEC, the CFTC, the IRS, all these different components, FinCEN, OFAC, the ones that should have a stake in this should all be on a task force so that they understand what their jurisdiction is, what their legislative limitations are, because they all operate under different statutes. So it's precisely correct that it should be a decentralized approach to that regulation. So absolutely. And the other striking thing is, saying the SEC doesn't really know anything about blockchain, to me is amusing because, and it's not that you're not wrong, but the chief there, Gary Gensler, of course, taught at MIT, right? So who better to know how to regulate blockchain fundamentally than a professor from MIT in blockchain? So it's really striking to me that the SEC takes such an overly broad approach. I think that it's a fear mechanism that causes them to throw a blanket over it, and then maybe incrementally they'll pull it back as there's more and more pushback. At least that's my hope, because otherwise I don't understand it, brother.
Okay, I think, Carlos, you will also want to add a point about how we can work with institution and government over regulation.
Well, I'm not an expert in that field, but I will say that in the last year, or in the last, let's say, 2-3 years, we have seen an increase in many of those government agencies in trying to understand a little bit what's going on, and probably trying to make up their mind in deciding how to regulate something that is growing too fast. Because one of the main things that happens with many of the risks we have to address with cyber is that technology goes faster than regulation and the legal issues. So it's quite difficult sometimes. That it takes both education and regulations are things that take years and years to increase the maturity level of different, let's say, generations of people. We are talking about not only the industry, but also talking about the society, the governments, young people. So they need to understand, and at the end, regulations are giving a framework for all of us to understand things, but sometimes those regulations at the beginning, they are not clear, there are gray lines, but at least give us something to work with. And I think especially last year with this unlikely conflict with Russia, with Ukraine, many people were concerned because at the end they didn't want that the money goes to the bad hands, and think regulation and sanctions are trying to help our businesses to push more priority into this, that really, okay, I can do it later because my business is first. So.
And I think one of the common subjects around all these different interrogation and issue is how can we increase the education? How can we make this education go faster in the society? So Gabi, can you just tell me what efforts does your company do for education? Just maybe not just for Web3, but just in security in general, please.
Yeah, so we follow with our clients many programs about security in general and security in Web3 for sure. But it's true, you know, we are hackers in our company, good hackers, not the other ones. The other ones are criminals.
Suppose white.
Yeah, white hackers. So sometimes we educate our clients by example, you know, because they don't realize, oh, you know, I will never be attacked or something. Okay, yeah. Let me do it.
Come back in 2 months.
Yeah, that's it. But you know, the idea is like being able to transmit the idea, like you know, security is important, and also a new concept is raising now is this DeFi security awareness. I mean, companies should be aware about what is happening around them in terms of new hacks and new things, but also, you know, the basics of security is like, you know, I talked to one of my clients. I said, like, you know, how many employees do you have? I said 10 employees, and they work with you know, with a company laptop. I said, no. Oh, you know, and you have any kind of protection? No. And did you use VPN or something? No. I said, okay, so we have to talk because it's like security from the very beginning. It's like security basics, and so yeah. I said that before because it's like for crypto natives, it's like super hard to understand like security basics. But it's for that our approach is not only, okay, I'm going to do these smart contract audits and that's all. No, it's like I'm your security advisor and I can do whatever you need. If you have any doubt related to security, even if you don't know how to set up a second factor authentication or so. So one of the example we launched against a client, it was like, okay, yeah, I'm super sure nobody is going to click on that or something. Okay, we started to inject fake meetings in the Google Calendar. So it's a super funny attack because it's like, you know, I usually have many 15 meetings per day sometimes. It's like, oh, you know, another meeting. And, you know, the guys click on the meeting and redirect to a Google authentication, fake, obviously. They put the credentials. And I receive maybe 80% credential of the company in Google, even the CTO credentials. So, I mean, this is a good way as well to educate. You know, it's like educate by example. We can say that.
I mean, just on that.
Maybe just Thanos. I see because
just about to add a
you
quick
want
comment.
to talk about education because I think you are doing a lot of effort also on this.
We have similar clients, and as Gabi can guarantee, educating project owners, it's really hard. They don't understand security until it's too late. For them, it's mostly business. they don't see the investment on their project by adding security. So that's why we're trying to educate users. If users are educated, they will come in the project and they will ask for the security audits. They will push for SOC 2. SOC 2 certificate is also good for Web 2 and make sure about credentials, GDPR, and cloud privacy, everything is kept. So we find more value there, and that's why we have webinars, we have content blog posts, we have gamify features to make sure that users can come in, interact, and be educated a lot more than they would be.
Yes, yeah, I come back to you about education.
Yeah, I was just going to make a point. I have a friend who's really clever, and he's head of cloud for an insurance firm, right? They hired a security firm. He clicked that bloody link, and he got flagged. And he's head of fucking cloud security in the firm, right? So it's not to say that, you know, it can happen to anyone, right? The security side of things. And this is Web 2 we're talking about, and we've been living in Web 2 space for a long while, right? And just on the education front, you know, I mean, I do my bit. I've got a colleague over here sat in the audience. I can see her. You know, I'm always invited to speak to students, you know, how to leverage NFTs, you know, that sort of things. So, you know, you do your bit, whatever you can, but, you know, it's a massive piece. It's a massive piece.
And it's never enough. But
Yeah, it's like another example is the BadgerDAO attack, because it was like, you know, when you sign a transaction, even if you use hardware wallet, it's like, how many clicks, you know, how many times I have to tap this button, like accept, and I don't realize how many times I tapped it, you know, that. But BadgerDAO, the attacker injected like a kind of payload, and when you go to sign the transaction, you didn't realize accidentally you tap once more than expected, and every single transaction you just sign, and every single transaction went to the attacker account.
And just from the legal perspective, can you give us some insight about education, Michael?
Yeah, definitely. So from the legal side, I think things are largely developing in this space. You know, we're seeing, I mean, you can't even look at like FTX and things like that because those are so, you know, they're so entrenched in traditional fraud. Just happen to be, you know, at a crypto-centric or a Web3 company. Really, it's just a matter of getting more of this education out there about this, the system, the technology, and the participants. AnChain actually has me in charge of our training program. So besides being volunteered as tribute at these conventions to speak to you all about touchy subjects like regulation and compliance and things like that, all kinds of fun stuff. We have a training program online that's self-paced. It's AnChain University. I think it's university.AnChain.AI. But we just introduced a smart contracts module yesterday because we have a lot of clients in the public sector that don't understand smart contracts, and they're thinking of putting out regulation by enforcement, and we're in touch with a lot of these regulators. We're in touch with a lot of these investigative agencies, and so besides selling the product, we largely try to educate on both the need for the product, but of course, the need to not just throw these blanket regulations and blanket adverse regulatory actions, enforcement actions out there. So it's, and also with private sector, with compliance teams, compliance officers, legal officers, it's a whole new ballgame for people, especially in the law, learning about a space in which the law is largely developing. There's not a lot of precedent for blockchain cases and for Web3 cases, especially in terms of IP with NFTs. And I mean, this is largely what we call in the law, cases of first instance, where you're literally seeing the law being built in real time. So for me, it's an exciting time because I don't think I've ever been a part of something that's so new and exciting that it's literally developing the law as we go and developing these regulations as we go. So it's just fascinating for me.
And Carlos, how is education at Maltego?
I think at the end we are trying to provide a lot of resources for the different kind of roles that you have in a company, from like blog posts, webinars, different kind of things. But I wanted to provide that one insight, just to add something, because to complement what they already said, is that one of my biggest learnings when dealing with cyber in the last probably 10 years, is that training doesn't always works in the way of like like just a lecture to people. One of the biggest things that changed many organizations when I was like trying to help them to improve their capabilities was cyber exercises. So when you think about the threat landscape and you put them in situations that could happen to them, then they have to react and understand how to approach the problem. And that's a different thing because they are learning, but with something that is applied to them, something that could happen. Probably it's going to happen in a few weeks, or maybe already happened to them, like ransomware attacks, you know, many situations, not only Web3. But I think learn by doing and like hands-on approach helps a lot organizations like to understand, because when something happens, not all the people have a good understanding even of their internal tools or how things works, and I think it's good to put them in that situation.
Okay, thank you everyone. So as a final word, I will say that less trust, more truth, and more education for everyone, not just humans, but we are all concerned by security. And I think you can see that they all like to talk about their experience, their expertise, so please come to talk to us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.